If you're struggling to lose weight, it's probably because you're consuming too many high-calorie foods. You don't have time to cook and you feel stuck not knowing what to eat to lose weight. You think you're going to have to commit to the boring old chicken, broccoli and rice if you finally want to see the fat come off. I've been there and it's unbearable. But I'm here to tell you that you can still eat the pizza, fries, burgers, fajitas and achieve your dream body. In this video, I'm going to show you what I ate to lose 17 kilos in 6 months. Quick, high-protein meals that took less than 15 minutes, sometimes even less than 10, were delicious and I never once felt deprived. So you want to be trying to eat a whole foods diet, one that's high in protein and also includes your 5 a day, so a minimum of 2 fruit and 3 vegetables. This is going to really enable you to eat a lot more food than you're probably eating now, yet it won't be so calorie dense, so you'll still be in a calorie deficit to lose the weight, and you'll also feel fuller for longer thanks to the high protein. And a diet made up of mostly whole foods, high protein and lots of fruit and vegetables is going to enable you to get enough fiber, enough protein and lots of vitamins and minerals that are missing from many people's modern diets full of junk food. So the easiest way to start eating healthier is to base every meal around a protein source. This could be chicken, turkey, it could be fish such as salmon. It could also be a meat-free alternative like tofu, whatever suits your dietary requirements as long as you're basing it around a protein source. It could even be eggs, for example. Then you want to add your veggies. So this could be cooked veg or it could be raw veg, depending on your time constraints and what you like. You want to be aiming for at least 3 vegetables, and I also try to aim for 2 different colors, so maybe red bell peppers and some courgettes that are green. That's just helping you get the variety of vitamins and minerals in your diet, but you don't necessarily have to do that in the beginning if that's feeling a bit overwhelming. Just 3 different vegetables is absolutely fine. Making enough vegetables for 2 nights has been an absolute lifesaver. That's my version of meal prepping because I don't really like meal prepping. I hate cooking in general, so meal prepping every single meal for every single night of the week and all lunches was just an absolute no-no for me. But meal prepping vegetables and then each night switch out the meat was a much more realistic goal for me and enabled me to stick to the healthy whole foods diet long term. For example, on Monday, I'll cut up 2 nights worth of veg and air fry it. So it may be courgettes, red peppers, mushrooms, or it could be courgettes, carrots and aubergines, whatever veg I'm fancying that week or that I've got left over in my fridge. I'll usually cook that with a protein source, so some chicken that I'll season and have on the Monday night, and then I switch out the protein source and have the leftover veg the next night with a turkey fillet. And I found that to be a really great solution because when you get to Tuesday, you're already tired, you can't be bothered to cook, and so having the veg already pre-cooked in your fridge from the night before and just having to quickly do a turkey steak 5 minutes in a pan, or it could be any other meat source or meat alternative that you prefer, means there's no excuse not to have a high protein, high fiber, delicious, healthy, filling whole foods meal. Wednesday, I then repeat the same process with different veg. So if I've had red peppers, courgettes and mushrooms on Monday and Tuesday, for example, I might do red peppers, carrots and aubergines on Wednesday just to have a bit of variety. To change it up a bit, I don't put them in the air fryer, I put them in a glass dish and I roast the vegetables in the oven with a packet sauce. You can get these sauces, make sure they're not too many calories, that you just add water to. You pour the sauce into the glass dish and it makes a nice gravy once roasted in the oven. Alongside the roasted veg, I'll also roast some meat in the oven. So it could be chicken drumsticks, it could be roast pork, roast beef, whatever you prefer. It could even just be some chicken thighs in the oven if it's easier. And again, that lasts 2 nights, enough for Wednesday night and Thursday night, because by the time Thursday rolls around and you're really tired, the last thing you feel like doing when you come home from work is cooking a healthy meal that takes a bit of time to cut up veg. So if you've already got that prepared, it can be really handy in making sure you're staying on track. Meal prepping 2 nights worth of food at a time has been an absolute game changer. It's a system I really found has worked for me. It prevents you from not having the energy to cook on a Tuesday or a Thursday and ending up ordering takeout on your phone or perhaps chucking a ready meal in the oven. You've already got your food prepared. You just have to heat it up in the microwave for a couple of minutes and you've got yourself a delicious high protein meal that's very healthy with lots of vegetables. Removing barriers and temptation is going to be absolutely crucial to your weight loss journey, because if you can't stick to the healthy diet long enough to see the weight come off, you're going to be discouraged and you're going to abandon the process. So meal prepping is just one of many systems that you can use to make the process a little bit easier on those days that you're tired or you can't be bothered to cook, and it just enables you to keep going with your healthy high protein diet rather than abandoning and ordering takeout food and then wanting to give up because you've fallen off track. And partial meal prepping on a Monday and a Wednesday, I've really found, is a great happy medium if you're someone that hates cooking like me. I would hate to spend the whole of Sunday meal prepping for the whole week. I know some people really enjoy doing that. If that's you, you can absolutely do that. I found a balance of preparing 2 nights of meals in a row is a great alternative to make sure you're putting the systems in place that means that the healthy diet is going to be sustainable in the long run, because the secret to losing weight successfully is making a long-term sustainable lifestyle change and not just doing a crash diet that lasts about a week and then you've fallen off because you're tired or you're down, and next thing you know you've ordered yourself a big calorific pizza. Losing weight is all about consistency, and not only consistency at the gym but also consistency in terms of your diet. We all want to make the good healthy changes and healthy habits, but life gets in the way, we get tired, things happen, and sometimes emotions take over. So if you've got some solid systems in place that are going to help you stay on track during the bad days, this is going to be so beneficial for you. It's going to keep pushing you forward. It's going to ultimately help you see the weight loss progress in the long term. If I have any vegetables left, I'll put them in a Tupperware and put them in the freezer, and then over lunchtime I can just get that out the freezer and have that with a protein source. Usually for lunch I try to prioritize quick alternatives. I usually have hardly any time to eat. I'm sure you don't either. So the best way is to prioritize quick healthy meals. So for example, salmon can be done in the microwave in 3 minutes, or eggs can be done very quickly, boiled eggs in 6 minutes, omelette even quicker. So those are the two protein sources I tend to go for over lunchtime, so I'm not messing around having to cook and use a pan. So one of my favorites is to have boiled eggs or salmon with some cooked vegetables that have been left over in my freezer, or if I don't have any leftover veg, I quickly cut up some cucumbers, tomatoes, red peppers, whatever raw vegetables you like. It literally takes 5 minutes and it gives you the variety of fruit and veg that you need. And cold salads are perfect for summer and the hot weather as well. If you need to take it to work with you, again, super easy to prep, only takes a couple of minutes, and then you can pop it in the fridge and take it to work with you the next day. So yes, cutting up raw veg, even things like avocados, are such a hack to have at lunchtime because they don't require any preparation. It literally takes 2 minutes to cut up whatever fruit and veg you've got in your fridge. Fruits and vegetables are going to be your number one hack for weight loss. They are very low in calories, so you can have a lot of them, which is known as volume eating, and this is going to play a massive role when you are hungry and you're looking for meals that are going to fill you up, that are seemingly large quantity. Fruits and vegetables are going to be your best friend. You can fill half your plate with veggies. It's going to be hardly any calories. You then add your protein source. You can add a carb source if you want to. I'll talk about later why I don't actually eat that many carbs, but that's just a personal choice of mine. And there you have a balanced, healthy meal that's going to satiate you, but you don't go over your calories. Again, the biggest difference I saw in my weight loss journey was when I was having a protein source with every lunch and dinner and making that a priority. Protein is so good, not only for promoting muscle building at the gym, but also keeping you fuller for longer, so you're less likely to have an afternoon crash and then reach for those unhealthy snacks. I bought an air fryer a year and a half ago, and it's honestly been the best investment. I've got the Ninja 10-in-1 for reference, so it does all different settings: air fry, roast, normal oven setting, but you can get ones that just do basic air fry. I would highly recommend. It's been a game changer for me. If you're someone that doesn't like eating boiled vegetables, a bit like me, they're not the nicest, air frying your veg or roasting them in the oven just makes the process a lot more enjoyable. And when you make healthy eating enjoyable, you're much more likely to stick to it over a long enough period of time to see the weight come off. Roasting vegetables in sauces, seasoning them, it's going to make it feel much less like a chore, and actually it's going to be healthy, delicious meals that you enjoy eating, because you don't need to eat chicken, broccoli and rice to see the weight loss. I used to think that, and that's why I hated putting any effort into cooking, because I thought you just had to eat really bland, plain meals if you wanted to see real weight loss progress. But it turns out you can actually have fun and get creative in the kitchen and really make yourself some nutritious meals that also taste good. And the great thing about air fryers is you don't actually need much oil in order to cook the vegetables or the meat. And this is so beneficial during a weight loss journey where your calories are limited. Even if you're not tracking them, you of course have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. That's just basic science. And so you don't really want to be wasting precious calories hidden in things like oils every time you're using a couple of spoons of olive oil to coat the vegetables. That's just a waste. So I'd recommend using a spray, something like Fry Light, or just a 1-calorie oil spray that you can find in your supermarket. Or if you don't even have that, because in France, for example, they don't really do low-calorie things, you can just add some extra virgin olive oil to a spray bottle and use it like that. And it just means that you can put a little bit on the veg so that it air fries nicely without wasting too many calories on oil. So as you will have seen by some of the meals I've shown you that I eat throughout the week, I don't eat many carbs, and that's a personal choice because I find I'm insulin resistant. I don't respond well to carbs. In particular, simple carbs such as pasta, bread is an absolute no-no for me. I've had to cut those out. Obviously, I will have some bread here and there, but pasta, I hardly ever have have pasta. If I were to have some carbs, it would be something more complex, such as rice or potatoes. But I just find that carbs make me bloat, and they also make me gain a lot of weight. I know there's some kind of debate around that. It is all about the quantity of carbs that you're consuming. However, I found the best weight loss progress for me personally was when I cut out carbs completely and I was just having vegetables and a protein source. So you could of course add rice, potatoes, sweet potato to any of these meals. It wouldn't be unhealthy. And in fact, carbs are important for energy. So for example, before the gym, I'll always make sure to have a banana. It's a great way of getting a bit of fruit in that also contains some carbs to give you some energy. But equally, if you're having your lunch or your dinner before you're going to the gym, you could add in some potatoes to give you that energy. Afternoon snacks are probably the biggest reason why some of you are not losing the weight. And so getting rid of the packaged goods, the baked goods is going to be so important. I found a really nice afternoon snack is having Greek yogurt with some frozen fruit. Now, if you don't like frozen fruit, you could just defrost it in the microwave. I say frozen fruit because sometimes it's just easier and quicker to get it out of the freezer. You don't have to mess around cutting it up if you don't have a lot of time. Equally, frozen fruit keeps for a lot longer, and some people actually say that frozen fruit is better for you because it's frozen with the nutrients that were present at the time. So I usually have Greek yogurt that's 0% fat, but you don't have to do that. It depends how you like to organize your fats distribution in your diet, but the 0% fat one doesn't have many calories, and you can then add lots of frozen fruit, things like mangoes, cherries, raspberries, whatever frozen fruit you love, and it's just a delicious afternoon snack, particularly in the summer when it's hot and you're craving something sweet and cold. It's a great thing to replace by perhaps an ice cream that you were having before, or cookies or whatever. You can even blend up the yogurt and frozen fruit and make it into a smoothie, or you could freeze the smoothie and make it into a sorbet. So many things you can do with Greek yogurt and fruit that helps you satisfy that sugary sweet craving that you have in the afternoon, give you a bit more energy, but you're not snacking on the wrong foods. I used to be so bad for this, eating waffles and cookies in the afternoon because I was hungry and because I was lacking energy. And actually, if you change to something much more filling, like Greek yogurt has protein in it, the naturally occurring sugars in fruit give you that energy that you're looking for. It's just a much healthier alternative to some of these packaged snacks that you're eating. Also, don't force yourself to eat fruit and veg that you don't like. So for example, you don't like bananas or you don't like grapes, don't eat them. No one is forcing you to. Just find fruit and veg that you love. If you love melon, eat that. If you love strawberries or raspberries, eat those. The best healthy diet to lose weight is going to be one that you enjoy, because it means you're going to be able to stick to it long term when the going gets tough. Because if you're forcing yourself to eat foods you don't like, eventually you're just going to abandon it and go back to your old ways, and you won't see the weight loss that you're looking for. If you don't feel like yogurt and fruit in the afternoon, an alternative I really like in the winter is having a hot chocolate. Now, this is made with semi-skimmed milk, so just swapping out that whole milk and having a low-calorie hot chocolate powder. One that I really like from the UK is called Options Hot Chocolate. I don't know if they have that in other countries, but there'll be some sort of equivalent, making sure it's not too high in sugar, not too many calories. For example, the Options Hot chocolate one's only about 40 calories. You have that with some milk and you've got yourself a good afternoon snack that's got some protein in it. It's going to fill you up. It's giving you that hit of chocolate that you're craving in the afternoon, and it's under 200 calories. You can also do a lot with Greek yogurt, and you can make things like cakes, cookies, etc. Healthy alternatives to your favorite snacks is going to be really key to sticking to the whole foods diet long enough to see the weight loss and actually enjoying the process rather than torturing yourself, depriving yourself, because that's not the way to do it. This is a lifestyle change. It's not just a diet you're doing for a couple of months and then quitting. So get creative in the kitchen if you enjoy doing that. I personally don't, so I just choose to have yogurt and fruit and whole foods alternatives that don't really require much preparation. But if you love cooking, go ahead and make healthy brownies with Greek yogurt. There's even recipes with low-fat cottage cheese. I hate cottage cheese, but if that's your thing, some people say you can't even taste it in these raspberry and white chocolate blondies that are only 300 calories. Go on Instagram and TikTok, and people have got these really great food pages where you can use whole foods to make some really great low-calorie alternatives to your favorite snacks. So now we're on to talking about weekend treat meals. Some people have a really strict diet and then go ham at the weekend and have loads of cheat meals, or maybe they have a cheat day. I don't believe in cheat meals or cheat days at all, because this is not a diet that you're cheating on. This is about actually moving towards a healthier lifestyle that you can stick to in the long term. It's not something that you're doing temporarily and then you're going to stop. So actually the weekend is a time for more enjoyment, but with reasonable limits. The way I like to think about it is, how can I make some healthier alternatives to my favorite foods? I can still enjoy a nice meal on the weekend like pizza or burger and chips without consuming thousands of calories, which would then hinder your weight loss progress. So my advice would be to make healthy alternatives to your favorite fast foods. So things like chips, or in America they call them fries, make them at home in the air fryer. Cut up potatoes. You can even get a vegetable cutter that cuts up the potatoes for you, whatever you fancy. I've done carrots in the air fryer that taste like carrot chips. Whichever form of fries you prefer, cut up the potatoes yourself and add a little bit of cooking spray, not too much, and put them in the air fryer. They're going to be absolutely delicious. And because they're just mainly potato, you can have a fairly big portion and it's not going to be as many calories as if you had McDonald's fries, for example. So to give you some examples of weekend treat meals, things like burger and chips. So you can actually make homemade burgers. I prefer chicken burgers. I cheat and get the ones already made from the shop, but you could easily use chicken mincemeat, turkey mincemeat, and make it yourself. Add the breadcrumbs yourself. And then if you were looking for something a little less carb heavy, you could take off half the bun, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to. Add the air fried chips and a little side salad. I always have a bowl of vegetables, again, things that I can cut up quickly. Tomatoes, red peppers, avocado, whatever's in my fridge. I always have that on the side, even at the weekends, so that I'm still having a balanced meal and I'm enjoying my chips and my burger without demolishing the chips and burger in 5 minutes and then still being hungry and then reaching for the wrong foods. So it's just a good way of kind of bulking your meal out a bit. Pizza is another thing that people absolutely love, but it can be very high calorie, ones that you order or buy in the shops. So the best way to have a low calorie, high protein pizza is to make it yourself. Specifically, make the dough yourself. I used to think this takes ages, but it actually doesn't. Flour and water is so easy. You do have to let it prove for a few hours, but if you make it on a Saturday morning, for example, it will be ready by the evening by the time you get back. Equally, if you're looking for a more high protein base, you can replace the water by Greek yogurt, low fat Greek yogurt, and you've got yourself a high protein pizza base. Some people use low fat cottage cheese, so it entirely depends on what you're looking for. You add your pizza sauce and pizza toppings. Again, things like chicken is going to dramatically increase the protein content. Add some tomatoes and mushrooms to get your vegetables in, and you've actually got yourself a balanced high protein meal with some fruit and veg in there for under 700 calories. One of my absolute favorite weekend meals is fajitas, and this is because it's actually really easy to make it low calorie. You get the low calorie wraps. They're only 96 calories per wrap. You add your chicken and veg and a little bit of guacamole sauce or whatever sauces you like having with your fajitas, and you've actually got yourself a fairly balanced high protein meal. You could have about 3 fajitas for under 700 or 800 calories, which is plenty to fill you up. If you were looking for an alternative to Doritos or some kind of like crisps or chips that you would usually put in your fajitas, I would suggest low calorie chips. These things called pop chips we have in the UK. I'm sure they've got some equivalents elsewhere. You can just sprinkle a few of those on and you've got yourself a low calorie alternative to Doritos. I just absolutely love fajitas because you can have 3 of them and feel like you're really enjoying your weekend without consuming 2,000 calories in one sitting. Portion control is so important. So before my weight loss journey, I would be having 4 fajitas and I would be having the wraps that were not low calorie. So they were about 250 calories per wrap. So just the wraps alone times 4, that was 1,000 calories without adding the chicken, veg and the sauces. Because if you're not losing weight but you think you're in a calorie deficit and you're confused as to why the scale weight's not going down or perhaps your measurements aren't going down, but yet it doesn't feel like you're eating that much food, that could be why, is because you need to not only reduce your portion sizes, but you also need to be looking at how calorie dense are the foods. Are there some quick, easy alternatives, little swaps that you can make that are going to dramatically reduce the calories? The low calorie wraps, for example, they may be a tiny bit thinner than the normal wraps, but honestly, I can't taste the difference and I would never know. So some swaps you're not even going to notice, and it's going to make the biggest difference when trying to stick to your calorie deficit and seeing the weight come off long term. Same with pizza. Before, I would probably share half a big pizza that was bought from the shop with my boyfriend, so that would be easily 800 to 1,000 calories just for my half of the pizza. Now we make the pizza ourselves. We make a big one, but I only need to have maybe like a quarter of it. That's at least 3 or 4 slices of pizza with my side salad and I'm full up. And I don't feel like I'm depriving myself because I'm still having the pizza. I'm just making sure that I'm also getting the fruit and veg in so that I feel full and I don't need to have 10 slices of pizza when actually 3 or 4 slices of homemade pizza is plenty. Now you'll notice I haven't really mentioned any breakfast ideas. That's because I personally don't eat breakfast. I just don't like eating eating in the mornings. It's a personal preference. Apart from if I'm going to the gym, then of course I'll have a banana before doing a leg day. Otherwise, I won't have anything. But if you like breakfast, absolutely have breakfast. There's so much conflicting research about whether breakfast is good for you. Then they said breakfast wasn't good for you. Now they're saying breakfast is good for you again. I wouldn't listen to any of that. Just do what works for you. I prefer saving my calories for later in the day when I'm hungrier, because I'm not really hungry in the mornings. But if you're someone who wakes up ravenous, of course, have breakfast. There's so many great high protein breakfast options out there. You just need to look on the internet for inspiration. Look on TikTok. What are people making for their high protein breakfasts that are quick and easy in the morning? Things like egg white pancakes, egg white omelets, frittatas, etc., that you can add loads of peppers and mushrooms and onions to, is a really great filling breakfast. I would be really careful with things like green powders and protein powders. They are not good for you at all. They contain so many nasty ingredients that are really bad for your gut, and you actually don't need them. If you're getting a whole foods diet that's high in protein, high in fiber, with lots of colourful fruit and veg, you do not need green powders or protein powder. You can get plenty of protein naturally through your diet with things like chicken, fish, eggs. So don't be fooled by these companies and these influencers trying to sell you green powders, because they're just so bad for you and are probably going to mess up your gut more than anything else. Now, I talked about calories through this whole video. I actually don't count calories, and throughout my weight loss journey, I never counted one single calorie. What is important is getting familiar with the nutritional values of food. So sometimes having a look on the backs of packaging, if you have no idea how many calories is in something, and you're going to be surprised. A lot of these packaged baked goods are 300-400 calories plus per cookie, just for a tiny little cookie in a packet. And so having a loose idea of how many calories is in something is a good idea if you're not going to track your food. There's nothing wrong with tracking your food if that's what you want to do, if you want to use a food scale, and you can do it in a healthy way where you're not beholden to the scale, and you can still go out sometimes and have fun with your friends and family at restaurants without worrying about the calories. But if you find counting calories quite triggering for you, like it was for me, you just need to have a loose idea of what's in food so that you can kind of guesstimate in your head how many calories you're consuming per day. Because the bottom line is, you will not be losing the weight if you're not in a calorie deficit. So it is really important to have an idea of what you're eating, and you're not just blindly consuming thousands and thousands of calories. But the idea that weight loss means you have to start tracking your food, counting your calories, is not true at all. I lost all 17 kilos of my weight loss entirely through intuitive eating. I didn't count one single calorie. So that's just proof that it can be done, and you can do this in a healthy, sustainable way where you're not beholden to a food scale if you don't want to be. If you've been overeating for years like I had done, you're not going to know when you feel hungry, when you feel full, because your hunger cues are all over the place from the hits of thousands of calories that you've been giving yourself for years on end. So the first few weeks of following your whole foods diet is going to be tough. It was tough for me. I was constantly hungry, but that is normal. That is expected when you're in a calorie deficit. You shouldn't be ravenous, but you are going to be hungry. As you slowly get your hunger cues back, you learn when you feel hungry, when you feel full, and you can kind of go off this intuitive pattern of eating enough so that you feel full, but not overeating to the point where you feel uncomfortable. So yes, in the beginning of your weight loss journey, feeling hungry is going to be normal, but it will get better over time. It's just your body adapting to having less food, and your stomach will shrink as you lose weight, and then you will feel fuller with smaller portion sizes. It just takes time. So in the meantime, utilize volume eating, utilize eating a high protein diet, lots of fruit and veg to fill you up. You should feel satiated, and if you're making healthy swaps to your favorite snacks, you should also not feel too deprived either. That being said, birthdays, barbecues, or any special occasions is just a time to enjoy yourself, and you shouldn't be worrying about what you're eating. Try to stay reasonable. Obviously, you don't want to be going wild and having 5 burgers at the barbecue. That would just be unreasonable. But you can enjoy yourself. You can have the birthday cake. If you go to a restaurant, you can get the fish and chips or whatever calorific thing is on the menu. As long as it's just a special occasion and you're not doing that every day or every week, it's perfectly fine to enjoy yourself. You don't need to deprive yourself or restrict yourself or decline the invite to go to a restaurant just because you don't know how many calories is in something. That's not a healthy way to live your life. It's not a healthy, sustainable way to lose weight. And one meal or even 1 week, let's say you go on holiday to an all-inclusive and you're worried about how you're going to manage it. 1 week of eating slightly higher calories and having a few cakes and ice creams and some nice meals is not going to ruin months of progress. That's what I had to learn, is that you don't need to restrict yourself on holiday or on special occasions. Letting yourself enjoy these foods like cakes, chocolates, etc. when it's appropriate and not labeling them as bad or off limits is ultimately going to give you a healthier relationship with food and is going to help you stick to a healthier diet in the long term because you're not depriving yourself of treats and nice food on special occasions. So just enjoy that meal out, or the barbecue food, or the birthday cake, whatever it is, and don't worry if the next day you see a little jump on the scale. If you're tracking your body weight, you don't obviously have to if you don't want to. I did choose to weigh myself throughout my weight loss journey, and you will see a little jump on the scale from the extra carbs, the extra fat, but that's normal. Your body's holding on to water weight. Within 1 to 2 days, you'll see the scale go back down and you'll be absolutely fine. It doesn't mean you've put on any fat. In fact, it's impossible to put on fat just from eating some barbecue food or some birthday cake in 1 day. You actually have to consume 7,000 extra calories on top of your maintenance calories. And if you're already overweight, your maintenance calories are going to be really high. Let's say your maintenance calories are 2,000. You would have to be consuming 9,000 calories in a singular day worth of barbecue food, restaurant food, ice cream, dessert, whatever it is that you're enjoying at the special occasion in one singular day just to gain 1 pound of fat. And 1 pound of fat is nothing. So it's pretty hard to consume 9,000 calories worth of barbecue food. So you can safely enjoy yourself. You can have a little bit more food than you usually would. You can enjoy the dessert at the restaurant without feeling guilty, because ultimately you are not going to be putting on fat from 1 day of having fun. It's so much more important to enjoy yourself, make the memories with your friends and family, and it will not ruin your weight loss progress. Another tip is not to go food shopping without a food shopping list, and not just any list, not just a list of random items that you're going to buy at the grocery store. You actually need to sit down and plan your meals and reverse engineer your shopping list. This is the easiest way to make sure that you're sticking to your whole foods diet. So I never go to the supermarket without working out what I'm going to be having, and I have basically the same meals every single week. Just makes it easier for me. I don't have to think about it, because as soon as I have options, or I'm at the supermarket and I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner, that's when it's easier to go off track and you just grab the ready meal pizza from the freezer section, because you have not planned and prepared in advance what you're going to eat. So I would plan all your meals, work out what the ingredients are, and then make your shopping list, and then go to the supermarket. So you walk in there and you know exactly what you're buying, and you walk out without any extra impromptu ready meals that weren't supposed to be there just because you didn't know what you were going to buy. Also, having a detailed shopping list avoids you buying things for the sake of it and then wasting your money because they're going off in your fridge, for example. So having a precise shopping list stops you from buying too much food, which then goes to waste. If you struggle a lot with overeating, another hack I found works is asking yourself, are you hungry or are you thirsty? Now, a lot of us are not drinking anywhere near as much water as we should be. If you're drinking fizzy drinks or juices, that needs to be cut straight away. There is no reason to be consuming empty calories like that. Juices are really bad for your teeth. Obviously, you can have them on occasions. I would try to find some zero sugar alternatives if you can. If you can have a Coke Zero or zero sugar Fanta, for example, that's fine on a special occasion at a barbecue. But if you're consuming these fizzy drinks on a daily basis, that really needs to stop. It should be water only. Water is so healthy for you. It's the only thing that's going to properly hydrate your body. Get yourself a big water bottle that you carry around with you, that you have on your desk, that you can sip at work. And actually you'll find that by drinking more water, those false hunger cues are going to go away, because you were not actually hungry, you were actually thirsty. And of course, I don't mean skipping meals and drinking water instead. What I mean is when you are mindlessly snacking, sometimes that's actually because you're thirsty, not because you're hungry. So sometimes you can misunderstand your thirst and hunger cues. So making sure you're drinking enough water is going to be really important for not overeating. You don't have to cut anything out of your diet if you don't want to, but sometimes I find removing temptation can be really helpful. So my weakness was eating packaged baked goods in the afternoon, things like cookies, where it was easy to consume multiple cookies in one sitting. Small packaged baked goods, sometimes you just have to remove them, stop buying them so that they're not in the cupboard as a temptation. Of course, you don't have to remove them completely if you are able to have some self-control around them, but I just personally wasn't, so I got rid of them and I replaced it with healthier alternatives that not only filled me up but also nourished my body and helped me stay in a calorie deficit. Throughout my 17-kilo weight loss, I ate chocolate every single night. I know that's hard to believe, but I did. I just made sure I didn't have too much of it, but it was kind of the thing I looked forward to as my little dessert. So it's very much possible to still eat dessert. You can make some healthy alternatives to your favorite desserts, high protein cheesecakes, high protein mousses. It doesn't even have to be high protein if you don't want it to. I'm just saying that because it's a good way of getting extra protein in. But if you just want to have a few squares of chocolate every night like I did, that's also more than acceptable. Something to look forward to at the end of the day, and you don't have to have this boring strict diet in order to be in a calorie deficit to see the weight loss. You can actually really enjoy yourself and have a balanced, healthy diet with a little bit of chocolate in there, or whatever your guilty pleasure is. Maybe it's sweets. Popcorn is actually a great low calorie alternative to chocolate, so that might be worth trying if you really like popcorn. So if you want to eat chocolate during your weight loss journey, you absolutely can. Cleaning up your diet is not easy, and it's not going to be a linear journey. Sometimes you're going to take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but you just have to accept that and work on any emotional triggers. If you are someone who emotionally eats when you're down like I do, you have to get to the root issue of why you're doing that, fix the things in your life that are causing that, so that you're not relying on food as comfort anymore. Food should never be seen as a reward, nor a comfort, nor a punishment. Food is so important for fueling and nourishing our bodies, so it should never play a part in your emotions. Uncoupling food from emotion is going to take a lot of time. It took me a really long time to stop turning to food when I felt down, but it is possible with the right support and perseverance and actually being kind to yourself. If you fall off track one day, it doesn't matter. One day isn't going to do anything. If you've had a 2 or 3 couple of bad days emotionally, you haven't eaten as healthy as you would like to, just get back on track and don't worry about it. It's not going to ruin your progress. You don't need to go to the gym and start doing hours of cardio to punish yourself or to try to cancel out the calories you've eaten. That just leads to a really restrictive cycle that you don't need to be in. Food and exercise are there to make us feel good, and food is there to be enjoyed, and particularly enjoyed on special occasions, so you don't need to deprive yourself, because this is a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. So you're not going to be doing the diet for 12 weeks, 16 weeks, and then giving it up once you've lost the weight. You are slowly making food swaps to have a healthier diet that you're actually going to be sticking to forever. And that seems kind of scary, thinking I've got to eat this whole foods diet for the rest of my life. But actually, if you make slow, small, easy swaps in the beginning, it's going to feel a lot more doable. You don't have to change everything if you don't want to. You could just start with aiming to get your 5 a day, for example. So just aiming for 2 fruits, 3 veg a day, and then keep the rest of your diet the same if it's feeling too overwhelming to change. Maybe you eat loads of chocolate and biscuits, but you can't bear getting rid of all of it. So maybe you just swap the biscuits for some other biscuits that you found in the supermarket that are slightly lower calorie. You don't even have to make anything yet if you don't want to, if that's feeling too overwhelming. You don't have to cut the chocolate out if it's too overwhelming, but just making small gradual changes are going to add up over time, and eventually you'll be eating a whole foods diet high in protein, high in fiber, lots of fruits and veg. It just takes patience and being kind to yourself and not making too drastic changes too quickly, because a lifestyle change is all about finding a diet that is enjoyable, that makes you feel good. Because if you do something that's too restrictive, ultimately you are going to end up cheating on the diet, because that's what it is. It's just a temporary diet that's too extreme that you won't be able to keep up long term, and that's where people don't see the weight loss that they're looking for. So the best way to see the weight loss is to take a slower, sustainable, healthy approach to it, where you're still including your favorite foods, you're just making some healthier swaps, you're making some healthier versions of your favorite meals. You're not eliminating any foods or labeling any foods as bad. You're just trying to make some healthier food choices. And one great piece of advice I heard from a nutritionist is, if starting to eat a healthier diet is feeling too overwhelming, think about what you can add rather than what you can take away. This can sometimes relieve the pressure of, as soon as the words healthy eating are mentioned, you feel really restrictive and you start shutting down because it's not at all what you want to do. Sometimes it's about, what can you add? How can you add some extra fruit and veg into your diet, onto your plate? How can you add some extra protein rather than focusing on what you're taking away? That can be a really great way to get out of a restrictive mindset. That really helped me, because as soon as someone spoke to me about, oh, you need to clean up your diet if you want to lose the weight, etc., etc., I just completely shut down. I felt like that was synonymous with living a miserable life, but it doesn't have to be. If you changed your mindset and your approach to how you look at a healthy diet and what that is, it can actually be about adding things in rather than taking away. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully it's giving you some useful ideas of how you can make healthy, high protein, quick meals that are going to help you stick to a healthy diet long term and lose the weight. If you are struggling to lose weight, watch these 2 videos. One where I tell you how I lost 17 kilos in 6 months and give you some tangible, actionable advice that you can apply to your life. And the other video where I show you what to do in the gym and how to build your own workout program so that you can see the weight loss you're looking for.